Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing several cards that I created using the new March 2018 Essentials by Ellen release. Now, I just love this release. I had so much fun working on it. I have made several cards with all of the different stamps and die sets, and I'm going to walk you through these here. First up is the Wasabi stamp and die set. You can see it has the coordinating dies, including those little chopsticks there. And the thing that's unique about this stamp set is it is a two-step stamping stamp set. So you have the outline images here, and then you also have some filler images, which are those more solid images that you see on the stamp set. Now, I'm pointing to this one here. I didn't know what it was at first. I had to ask my friend Julie, and she had to give me a little bit of schooling in the Japanese cuisine area, and it is a rice tower. But you can see all of these images have the little parts that go inside to fill them in. Now, I like this stamp set, and you're going to see this in action because the filler images are perfectly imperfect, and you'll see that in action. Next up is the Konichiwa stamp and coordinating die set. These little girls and their little lucky cats are so cute. Now, I know the little lucky cats from like the little alarm clocks where the hand goes up and down, but you can see, I'm sure that there is some meaning in the Japanese culture. For me, I think they're adorable either way, but you can see that there are so many fun images in this set, including that bamboo, and I love how the die cuts out between the bamboo. Here's a look at the Wasabi accessories die. That's some sushi grass as well as another pair of larger chopsticks. And then finally, the fortune cookie dies that cut out the fortune cookies. And then there's that little strip for all of these sentiments in the Good Fortune stamp set that coordinates with that. By the way, that Wasabi accessories, wouldn't that be so cool as some Easter grass, the little grass thing? Anyway, moving on. Here is a look at the Konichiwa Bundle. This bundle was put together to coordinate perfectly with this release. You can see I have some beautiful washi tapes. There's some bamboo paper that's self-adhesive, some different Tonic Nouveau drops, and some sequins and accessories there. And it's a lot of fun. It has some little flower sequins as well. So because I want to have a lot of these images on hand to create a lot of projects, I'm using my Misty stamping tool to stamp a bunch of these at once. And I'm starting out with the VersaFine Clair. This is the gray color. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but I will have it linked in the description over at YouTube as well as in the supply section over at my blog. So be sure to check that out. And you can see I've strategically placed the images so that I can do it on a half sheet and then I can flip it around and do the other half. Now, on the second half of the Misty, I'm placing the filler images. Now, these filler images are not hard to line up. And like I said before, they are perfectly imperfect. So they're not designed to fill up the whole thing, but kind of designed to be just slightly offset. Now, when you do this, you can stamp all of the outline images in one ink color, and then you can go in and ink up all of your solid filler images and stamp everything all at the same time. Now, I also wanted to create several of these that I could use with Copic coloring as well. So I went back and I stamped several of these images with some Memento Tuxedo black ink because that is a Copic friendly ink. And you're going to see me place that down. And by the way, I'm using some Nina Solar White cardstock. And because I like my lines really dark and black, I like to double stamp these. And that's something that you can definitely do in the Misty. Now, I wanted to show you that the two-step stamping is really easy, and you can do this without a Misty. I was using the Misty to stamp several of them at once, but I found that even stamping them individual was very easy. The colors I'm using of ink today are the Catherine Pooler Polished ink. I'm using Hero Arts Lime Green, Hero Arts Fresh Peach, and I'm going to pull in a little bit of brown ink for the soy sauce as well. And you can see I am just inking these up and lining it up. I'm getting right over the top of these images and stamping them down. And because they are perfectly imperfect, I don't have to worry when it's not spot on because that is the design of this stamp set and I love that so much. So I went back in and stamped some of my shrimp in some red ink, and I'm filling a couple of these images in with some Copic markers. Those chopsticks there, I just filled with some Copic markers. And I did add a little bit of shading to the rice areas with a T0 marker. And I just put very little of that around the outside of the rice images. Now, if you want this area to be solid fill, you can either color it with a Copic marker or you can stamp it with the filler images and add some shading with some colored pencils like I'm doing here. And that will fill up that entire image where the inside image is offset. Does that make sense? So I've just used a coordinating pink colored pencil and a coordinating green colored pencil to not only add a little bit of shading and depth to those images, but also to fill out that image completely. So you have a couple of different options with this stamp set, which is why I love it so much. I'm now taking the chopsticks and cutting it out of some of that wood paper that has the adhesive back. Like I said before, this is a part of the Konichiwa Bundle. And for my sushi grass, I'm just going to take that Hero Arts lime green ink pad directly to my paper and create some green cardstock that has a little bit of variation in the color. And I am going to run all of those through my Gemini Junior to die cut them. So I'm going to start building my first card today. I'm building a couple of cards for you. And I'm starting with a base of this gold dot washi. I love the gold dots on this. They are a foil, so you get a lot of shine from it. And I am just using that as kind of a base for all of my images so they don't look like they're just floating in the air. Now the sushi grass is all connected, but you can go in and there's just like these little areas that you can snip out to kind of separate it. I didn't do it on every line, but just every few lines to create a little bit of movement within that sushi grass. And you can see when I adhered it to my card front, I kind of curled some of those ends up and separated them out. In front of my sushi grass, I'm adding some of my sushi pieces that I've stamped. These are not the ones that are actually colored in, but they're just stamped with the filler images. And I am adhering them at different levels so that I get a lot of depth in the scene that I'm building. And I'm going to finish the scene off by adding a pair of those chopsticks die cut from that wood paper, and I think that's so fun. I did kind of have to rearrange a few things to get it all on there correctly. Sometimes card making is like puzzle work. You have to figure out how it all goes on there. And so don't be afraid to just kind of lightly adhere things and kind of have that flexibility to move them around as you're working. So for my sentiment, I use the Hey Wasabi sentiment there, and I just white heat embossed that on some charcoal gray cardstock and adhered it with a little bit of foam adhesive. Now here's a little tip for you. I needed to fill a bottle with some collage medium in the matte finish. So I am just placing the nozzle of my collage medium right into the other bottle that has the fine tip applicator and just kind of pounding it down and squirting and then pounding it down and squirting. And then I use that collage medium in the matte finish to adhere some of the green sequins that are included in the bundle. And here's a look at the final card project, and I love the way that this turned out, and I think it's just a fun way to say, hey, what's up, or wasabi, to someone that you haven't seen in a while. So for my second card today, I'm going to do a little bit of masked ink blending. So I'm taking some Inkadinkado stamping mask paper, and I'm cutting a circle right out of the center of a piece of that masking paper that measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So it's the exact size of the front of my card. And you can see I removed the backer and placed it onto my card base and just kind of worked out the little bubbles that I had in there. And now I'm taking my Hero Arts lime green ink and I'm getting my ink dauber kind of primed with the ink. So I'm inking it and kind of smushing it off onto a piece of scrap paper. And when I feel like it's properly primed, I'm going to, with an extremely light hand, take this over to my project and start blending it into that circle, starting on the masking paper and working in. Now this ink, I'm going to say, is not like my first choice for blending. I wanted to keep the colors consistent from all of my projects. So that's the reason that I chose this ink. You may have a little bit more luck blending with like a Distress Oxide ink, because for these card bases, I am using the Essentials by Ellen Linen cardstock. But the key to blending this, if you are going to blend an ink like this, is to start with an extremely light hand and work up. And you can see when I remove the mask, I have that beautiful green circle there in the middle. Now here's where I'm going to tell you a little story about this card. Because when I designed this card, I really wanted to use that noodle bowl, and I wanted my sentiment to say, "Udon worry, be happy," which is one of the sentiments from the stamp set. And I had a mess on my desk, and I was working, and I had that stamp pulled out to create this card, and I could not find that stamp to save my life. So I had to just roll with it, literally. And I used the just roll with it sentiment on this card project instead, and just kind of switched up some of the images I was using. Now, that stamp did turn up. My husband actually found that stamp on our kitchen table centerpiece, which I have no idea how it got there. But Eureka, it has been found. We are so glad that little stamp has been found. Because I literally was going to order a whole new stamp set just so I could have that stamp back, because it was breaking my heart. So you can see once I have my sentiment embossed there, I layered a piece of that bamboo paper right underneath it. And then I'm going to take all of my images and kind of once again use varying depths to adhere these onto my card front. And that creates a lot of different dimension and interest to the card by adhering these at different depths. And I ended up switching out the little piece with the shrimp on top. I'm not sure what the exact name is for that, with a couple more rolls. And then I added some glossy accents to make all of those inner parts of those rolls and the noodles and the shrimp really shiny. And that was a fun way to finish off this card project. So as I mentioned, I made a ton of cards with this entire release. And you can see images of those cards over at my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Some of them I will be sharing in future video tutorials, so keep an eye out for that if you want to see some of the cards that I created using that So Matcha stamp set, which I love those little girls. But today was all about the Wasabi stamp set and several cards that I created with all those adorable sushi images. And I really did create a ton of these images, so I have them on hand for quick cards like I created today. As always, I will have links to the featured products used in these projects in the description at YouTube, but head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com, because over there I'll have more still shots, more information, a complete list of supplies, and some information on a blog hop that this video is a part of. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed these projects. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my paper crafting video tutorials on YouTube. Thanks for stopping by, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. As always, thanks for spending time with me today. If you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, just hit that button on the left side of the screen. And here's a couple more video tutorials I thought you might enjoy.